Test, test. Council meeting February 19th, test.
Thank you and good morning, everyone. We are here for this special meeting of City Council, February 19th, 2026. Clerk Trenum, could you please confirm that quorum is present with these wonderful people around the table who include Councillor Matt Francis, Councillor Mark Taddison, Councillor Tom Jackson, Councillor Jeff Beattie, Councillor Esther Pauls, Councillor Brad Clark, Councillor Tom Cooper, Councillor Craig Kassar, Councillor Tommy Wang. What did I say? Oh, sorry, Rob Cooper, Councillor Tammy Wayne, Councillor Alex Wilson, Councillor Narinder Nan, Councillor Cameron Kretsch, Councillor Ted McMeekin, and Councillor Maureen Wilson, our budget chair, who will be taking over fairly soon. So I take it that quorum is present.
With that, Mayor, quorum is present.
Thank you very much. And so good morning, everyone. Good morning, members of council, as well as staff, media, and others who are joining us online. As we have a quorum present for today's meeting, I would like to call the meeting of City Council to order. The City of Hamilton is situated upon the traditional territories of the Erie, Neutral, Huron-Wendat, Haudenosaunee, and Mississaugas. This land is covered by the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which was an agreement between the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe to share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We further acknowledge that this land is covered by the Between the Lakes Purchase 1792 between the Crown and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. Today, the City of Hamilton is home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, North America, and we recognize that we must do more to learn about the rich history of this land so that we can better understand our roles as residents, neighbors, partners, and caretakers. Members are reminded, of course, that all electronic devices are to be switched to a non-audible function during council meetings. Members are also reminded of the 5-minute time limit when asking questions and or making a statement, and that no member of council shall speak more than once on any item at a council meeting without passing a motion to do so. We are now on to the approval of the agenda. Are there any amendments to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion then to approve the agenda as presented? Councillor Jackson, moved by Councillor Jackson, thank you. Oh, you have an amendment? Okay, we'll go for questions. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Horvath. Sorry for waving so vigorously. Sorry. I had talked to City Clerk Trenum in the last 24 hours, so I'm just asking so that we're all clear. When is the time that I want to give my wrap-up speech on today's deliberations? Through you to City Clerk Trenum, or if you want to direct me as well, we have minutes at 5.1, we have minutes at 5.2, and after that, it's pretty well over adjournment, other than the bylaw. So
Before the hockey game. Sorry. And so I'll have Clerk Trenum respond, but of course, Councillor Wilson, the budget chair, will be in the chair for much of the meeting. So we'll go over to Clerk Trenum for the response.
I want our women to beat the U.S. as well today, Councillor Maureen
Apparently
Wilson.
5 out of the 10 coaches in women's hockey are Canadians. Did you know that?
I did not know that. Fantastic.
There you go.
Okay, I got the watch thing from Councillor Wilson. City Clerk Trenum, can you help, please?
So through you, Mayor, what I advised is that with any council meeting, everyone has 5 minutes that they can use on any given item. That includes items that are lifted and voted on or considered separately. So if you would like to speak more generally to an item, as Councillor Jackson has suggested, the opportunity to do so would perhaps be on the balance of the minutes, either set when they're on the floor.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thanks
City
for
Clerk.
asking the question, Councillor Jackson. Appreciate that. And so then we are on to the approval of the agenda. And that agenda is now moved by Councillor Jackson. Is that okay with you? All right. Seconded by Councillor Kretsch. Motion is on the floor. Show of hands, please. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Thanks very much. Declarations of interest. Members of council, are there any declarations of interest? No? Seeing Councillor Pauls?
There's an item for the paramedics, and I just wanted non-disqualifying. My daughter-in-law is a paramedic for Hamilton. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pauls. So seeing there are no declarations of interest, I'll now turn the chair over to Councillor Maureen Wilson, our budget chair, for the consideration of General Issues Committee operating and capital budget minutes. Over to you, Councillor Wilson, and thank you for your service.
Morning. I was at a function the other day at a research laboratory that was celebrating its 15th anniversary. Moved from Ottawa to Hamilton. And the room was filled with all these brilliant scientists. And we were all seized with two phrases. The first phrase had 3 words, which all Canadians, I believe, are seized with, and that is made in Canada. And that's what the work of this laboratory has been doing and will increasingly be doing immediately and into the near future. The second phrase that everyone was seized with, particularly today, particularly this morning, is Go Canada Go, 3 words. So with that collaborative and patriotic spirit in mind of working as a team in order to get the goals in, to get the puck in the goal, let's proceed. We will give it our best effort. Before we get onto the committee recommendations, I do want to provide an overview of today's process and the purpose for both members of council, for the purpose of members of council, and of course, always for the public. Mayor Horvath has proposed the 2026 tax budget, and she did so on January the 20th, starting a 30-day period for City Council to review the budget and to propose amendments to it. Today is the last day for Council to consider and approve budget amendments being recommended by this GIC Budget Committee in accordance with the Municipal Act. Minutes of each Budget Committee meeting will be put on the floor for Council to receive them and approve the recommendations within them. To clarify for everyone, a vote to approve the minutes as presented represents a vote to approve all amendment motions that were carried at that meeting. If the minutes as presented were to be defeated by a vote of council, then any item within those minutes would also be defeated. If a member of council would like a separate vote on a budget amendment motion from within the minutes, just as we do at regular council meetings, that member can join the speakers list and request that an item be voted on separately. Once all separate votes have been taken, we will vote on the balance of the minutes, including, of course, the receipt. Okay? So we're on to, my apologies, I'll just scroll. Oh, thank you. If I may, we'll go to 4.1, which is the 2026 proposed tax budget update. A motion to receive this report, moved by Councillor Kretsch, seconded by Councillor Nan. Are there any speakers or questions on this matter? Seeing none, please indicate with your hand to register its receipt. Thank you. That carries. Okay. On to the committee recommendations. We're looking at, excuse me, 5.1, which is GICB 26-007. Councillor Kassar may have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the open and closed session General Issue Committee operating capital minutes of February the 6th, one day after my birthday, by the way.
Yes, of course, Budget Chair Wilson. It's moved by me, seconded by Councillor Wang, that A, GICB 26-007, being the minutes of the General Issues Committee Operating Capital Budget meeting held on Friday, February 6, 2026, be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved, and B, that the closed session minutes of the same meeting held on Friday, February 6th, be approved as presented and remain confidential.
Thank you very much for that. Are there any items within the minutes that members would like to speak to amend, or vote on separately. Councillor Alex Wilson, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, would we be able to have a separated vote on essentially all of the divided items in this report? So my understanding is that would be 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, and 9.7, because 9.6 and 9.8 were deferred and dealt with in the next minutes. So that's 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, and 9.7 would be divided votes. I'll leave it to committee if 9.1 needs to be broken in two. That's what we did at committee. I'm fine to do it as one roll-up, but if people want the A-B specificity, I'll leave it to someone else to request that.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay. So, Councillor McMeekin?
Just a suggestion, if there are amendments to minutes that come up, tracing them down, it sometimes takes some time. So I wonder if every amendment that is made, if there's a specific item like 9.3 of such a report, be put on the screen so we all know what we're voting on.
The clerk is nodding in the affirmative. Any further comments? No. Okay. Okay. So just so folks are aware, we've had a request for separated votes to reflect the fact that there was some separation in terms of lack of unanimity at council. So the first one being so would be 9.1 from your minutes of February the 6th, okay? Oh, you're in the doghouse now. So 9.1 was unanimous. So if it's okay with everybody, we'll move on. Okay. 9.2? No, 9.2 was the extension of non-residential blue box collection. So if you would like a separate vote on that, I think I saw nods in the affirmative. So if we can, Councillor McMeekin has asked for it to be up on the screen just to serve as a bookmark reminder. Thank you, Councillor McMeekin. That's a good suggestion. Okay, that was the action that council voted on, or the committee voted on, beg your pardon. And so what you're doing today is to affirm how you voted on that day on that particular amendment. It doesn't mean you can change your vote, of course, but yeah. Okay, thank you. And because it's the first vote of the day, I trust it may be a little slow. Yeah, e-vote is up. Thank you. That carries 14-1. Thank you, members. Next one is 9.3, adjustment to the Hamilton Public Library Board of Directors budget. If we can get that item up on the screen, that therefore be it resolved, please and thank you. Okay, so that was the amendment that was put forward and voted at the Budget Committee on February the 6th. And so I'm asking you to vote on, we've had a request for a separate vote on this item. Thank you. That carries 9-6. (9.4) Adjustment to the Hamilton Farmers Market Board of Directors budget. If we could have that action up on the screen, and therefore would be it resolved what was voted on. Thank you. Okay. Councillor Jackson votes in the affirmative. The vote is up. Thank you. That carries 14-1. No. 9-7. It's okay. Okay. 9.7. 9.6 was just a deferral, Councillor. There wasn't any budgetary action. No problem. 9.7, increase to the City Enrichment Fund budget. Okay. Yep. Right. Okay, so I'm going to ask the clerk. There was, this was an amendment put forward by Councillor Kretsch and Councillor Nan. And so we're going to have some clarity on what we're voting for. Please and thank you.
Yeah, so just looking at 9.7, the first vote that you see in the minutes was actually calling the question. So that carried. The second vote was actually defeated. So this item was defeated by a vote of 3-13.
So what I'm asking, what you're registering now in your vote is the actual action on the amendment, okay? Yeah, no, thanks for seeking that clarity. That was helpful, Councillor Jackson. Okay? Councillor Jackson? So you're voting on the amendment as, yep, Councillor Francis. Okay. Whoa, sorry. Thank you. That is defeated 4-11. Okay, so we're going to vote on the balance of the items, which did receive unanimous support. So we're going to assume that you don't want separate votes on those things. So the balance of the minutes, please.
I know it was unanimous at GIC, but I'd like to have the vote here at council as well. I think some of my colleagues are contemplating voting against the remainder of the report. And if this is not dealt with here and ratified now, then we would lose that, correct? If the minutes of the report was defeated without addressing 9.8, then the meal program would not be eliminated.
Okay, order, please.
I'm just asking the chair, so
Yep.
guys, let me
Order,
hear.
please. We have a member who has the floor right now. Councillor Clark has the floor. He's asking for, I believe, some clarity on 9.8. I'm going to ask the clerk to bring clarity so you can be assured that if you exercise a separate vote on this, you know what we're doing.
Chair, my apologies. I thought this was the one where we actually dealt with the meal program. I believe this one, in
Just
reading the minutes, it was deferred to the next meeting. So we're good with the, thank you. Just want to make sure that.
So just to confirm clarity though, Chair, just so everybody is on the same page, the balance of the minutes includes now items 9.1, which passed with unanimous, 9.
5,
5,
9, 6,
9.6, which was a deferral, so that's not in here, not to the issue. So really, it's item 9.1 and I believe 9.5 are included in the balance.
And so, if I may, because it goes to my point of the question, the ones that were approved at the previous meeting, not ratified today, is a separate vote. If the council now votes down the minutes, what happens to those individual items?
So it's an
Clerk Trenum, please.
excellent question, Chair. So right now, we've only separated those 4 items and had the separate votes. Those have carried or defeated as the results were presented. What's left is everything left in those minutes. So if what's left in those minutes were defeated, the balance motion defeated, then whatever is in there is also defeated. So including those 2 items that passed unanimously.
Thank you. I just think it's important that we be aware of that before we vote.
Okay. So what we're going to be doing now is voting on the balance of the minutes. And if anybody, don't be shy. If you need clarity on anything, please don't hesitate. That is your prerogative as a member. Okay? We're going to vote on the balance of the minutes right now. Thank you. Thumbs up from Councillor Jackson. Thank you. That carries 15 to 0. Councillor Spadafores. Okay. Thank you. Okay. Sorry, I'm just trying to find my place. Pardon me? Are you going to 5.2 now? Okay. Thank you, everyone. We're on to the minutes, which is item 5.2, the minutes from the General Issues Committee minutes of February the 13th. Okay? Councillor Alex Wilson, please.
Thank you. I'll leave it to other councillors if they want to pull out individual motions on top of this, but I would like to have a separated vote on all of the divided items that were in this minute item. Thank you.
Thank you. My apologies as I have to first get them on the floor. Councillor Kassar, may I please have a motion to receive and approve the recommendations within the General Issues Committee operating and capital minutes of February the 13th, 2026, and receive the correspondence items.
Yes, of course, Chair Wilson. It's moved by me, seconded by Councillor Wang, that A, GICB 26-008 being the minutes of the General Issues Committee Operating and Capital Budget meeting held on Friday, February 13th, 2026 be received and the recommendations contained therein be approved, and B, that the following correspondence items be received, Roman numeral 1, items A through AY.
Thank you. Duly moved and seconded. Questions? Councillor Clark.
So on item 9.1, the grass cutting mitigation, as I recall, the motion that enabled a reduction in services on the right-of-way, was that approved or was that rejected?
So thank you for your question, Councillor. I'll recognize the clerk in a moment. My recollection is there was a request at that committee meeting to parse out the actions, the votes, and on that particular item, which was 1A1, it was defeated 7-9. I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah. So I'm just, A, we'd like to have a separate vote.
Yep.
And I'm asking my colleagues to contemplate what will happen if we lower the grass cutting cycles as proposed on the right-of-way.
Okay, thank you. You're asking for a separate vote. A separate vote has been asked for 1A1 on the motion of 9.1 from the February the 13th committee meeting. That motion was defeated 7-9. So we'll have an electronic vote, and we'll ask the clerk, okay, that is the action that was on the floor, and that is what you're voting on, which was defeated. It's your choice.
And Chair, if I may speak to it just very briefly,
Yes?
right?
Yeah.
So I understand the intention, and I understand it's only $105,000 to reinstate the urban right-of-way maintenance. My ward and a few of the other suburban wards are wards that have significant right-of-way grass on the boulevards. And while I understand the logic that in a dormant period, the grass does not grow, kind of browns, what does grow, and what I have seen in the right-of-way in my ward, is a significant amount of plant life that is not grass. So weeds galore. And I'm asking that we consider the fact that our residents are proud of their wards, they're proud of their city, how it looks. They will not be proud if we eliminate that grass cutting. They will object, they will call, they will complain. Why, you say? Well, we force everyone who has grass to cut their grass, or the city will come and do it. And here we are not cutting our own grass. And it really will look awful. I've gone through this once before. It's not a good plan, and I understand it's saving money, but on this small amount, I'm asking you to consider to reinstate the urban right-of-way maintenance. It's only $105,000, which in the grand scheme of things is not significant, but it will make a difference in the community. Thank you.
I have Mayor Horvath, followed by Councillor Nan. Mayor Horvath.
Thanks very much. I'm going to maintain my my vote from the previous go-around. I thought a lot about what we asked the staff to do, what I asked the staff to do, and what we are often asking the staff to do at committee meetings and otherwise around this table, and that is to find efficiencies, drive efficiencies, do things differently. And when we have efficiencies brought before us by our professional staff who also care about our city and who want to make sure it's a great place for people to live. I firmly believe that. And they bring these efficiencies forward, then nobody really wants to go there. And that's something that I just can't come to terms with. At the end of the day, two things happen. One is we're basically asking for efficiencies and then not supporting them. The other is we're asking our staff to do that work. We're asking them to pour through the things that we do as a city and find ways to do them better, to do them differently. Yes, to save taxpayers money, but also to create that culture of finding efficiencies. Well, if every time we have something come forward, or if we have these ideas come forward and then simply throw cold water on them, then how much more are we going to see staff come forward with efficiencies when we just send them back saying, no, thank you, we don't really want efficiencies? And so I'm going to stick with my position on this because I think it's bigger than just $100,000. I think it's a broader issue around actually doing what we say, which is ask for efficiencies and then support the professional staff in terms of when they bring it forward. So thank you.
Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I'm also going to maintain my vote as I did during the Budget Committee. It was really clearly presented through Public Works staff that what we'd be seeing is a move from a 12 cut per year to a 9 cut per year standard, and that staff are committed that should the seasonal growth be high, that service would be responsive to that. So if I could just get verification, because I think there's a misinterpretation here that this is a service reduction versus a responsive service cut. Thank you.
Thank you. Jackie Kennedy, General Manager of Public Works. Through the chair, thanks for the opportunity to clarify. You have said it very accurately. The intention is to plan to reduce from 9 to 12, from 12 to 9, sorry. The plan cuts, and if operational requirements do demand an additional cut in that, we will certainly do that. This cutting is in place to maintain sight lines and visibility along the right-of-way, and that is the priority. So thank you
so much.
Councillor Pauls?
That's right. Thank you, and I appreciate the mayor stating what she said, but I also am aware that we are 15 different wards. We all have different needs, and I talked to staff about my ward, and one of the right-of-way goes right to my park, and that park always needs to be cut. So we're all, we are trying to find savings, but savings in 15 different wards. So I do appreciate, so I'll be supporting this for my ward. So thank you.
Thank you. There are no further speakers on this item. Excuse me. So just to let you know, we are on 1A1. If we can maybe, yeah, thank you. So this was voted on. It was defeated 7-9. So what you're doing is either you're affirming your vote, changing your vote. The prerogative is yours. Thank you. No. You, if you want to confirm what you did, you would vote in the same way you did on the 13th of February. If you want to change your mind, you would do elsewhere. Thank you. That is defeated 6-9. Okay. Moving on.
So Chair, next was, I know we mentioned each section to be voted on separately, 2A2, and this was that staff be directed to document occurrences for the 2026 season. This was unanimous, so just confirming there was no need for an additional vote on that.
Thank you. So then we'll move to.
The next then would be 3A3, and that the proposed 2026 tax budget be amended to add an additional $156,000 for grass cutting on city-owned and non-city-owned lands.
Okay, before recognizing a councillor who has requested to speak, what the clerk just said is we would be moving to 3A333 ... And we'll put that up on the screen. Before doing so, Councillor Clark on this.
No, I wanted a separate vote on 9.2. As I mentioned in my earlier comments, if it's ratified here now at this vote, then regardless of how the balance of the minutes is approved or not, we've approved it. So I'd like to do that now, please.
Okay. So we've been asked by a member to take a step back before we get to 3A3. And that is, if I'm understanding Councillor Clark correctly, to vote on, is it Clerk Trenum 2A?
9.2, and it looks like 9.21.
2A2, we've done 2A1, so
Yep.
2A2, which was unanimous.
So we're looking at, it's still the item 9.1 of the minutes, which is the grass cutting mitigation measures, which at committee was voted or divided into 4 separate votes. So A1, A2, A3, and A4. In the minutes, you see them as you scroll down. The vote was 1AI, which we just completed, followed by 2A II, or 2A2, which
apologies.
was
I'm
carried
ahead of you.
unanimously.
I'm ahead of you in the agenda, sorry.
Okay, now I thought we had a clear understanding that we weren't going to have a separate vote on 2A2 because it was carried unanimously, and therefore that prompted me as your chair to go to 3A3, which wasn't unanimous, okay? So that is what is up on the screen at present. There has been a request for a separate vote, so you can either vote as you did February 13th, or you can change your mind. Three A3, yep. If anybody needs help, like, don't worry, ask me. If you need help on how you voted, ask me or ask the clerk. That carries 14-1. Okay, thank you. Okay. The next item was unanimous. Okay? So now we're going to 9.2, which also was unanimous with one expressed abstention, I believe. So our practice here now is not to have a separate vote on that, but, okay. All right.
Yes,
Councillor McMeekin,
yes, declare my conflict again.
you're declaring your conflict. Okay. Thank you, Councillor. So as a consequence of that, you can, will probably require a separate vote, so you can abstain.
Great.
Okay, thank you. 9.2.
Glad we got that cleared up.
Councillor Jackson is voting in the affirmative. Fourteen to 0 with one abstention. Thank you, colleagues. 9.3 unanimous. 9.4 unanimous. We're on to 9.5. Deferral of a portion of transfer station CRC Maintenance and Capital Improvement Program to 2027. At that day, it was carried 15-1. So that is before you now for to exercise your franchise. Yeah, 9.5. Thank you. That carries 14-1. Okay, next, 9.6, 2026 tax budget amendments, discretionary DC exemptions. We can have the action up on the therefore up on the screen. Thank you so much, Elsie McCrae. Yep, the vote is up. Okay. Can we do that one over again? Can you just correct if a mistake was made? Thank you. 9.6, Counselor. Thank you, colleagues. That passes 12-3. 9.7. Build Back Better, an amendment to the draft 2026 City of Hamilton Budget and Financing Plan. At that time, the motion was defeated 6-9. You can either affirm or change your vote. So 9.7 is the climate change and the Build Back Better one for folks. Please, if you don't mind looking at the screen, that is defeated 7-8. Okay. Which one, Counselor? If you don't mind, I'll recognize you if you'd like to pick.
Not,
Just a minute, please. Just a minute, please. Come on, folks. Counselor Pauls, you have the floor.
okay, so for 9.7, the climate change, was it separate from the whole thing? Because I'm,
That was the whole thing.
oh,
Yeah,
the
there
whole
was
thing.
no, there was no, nothing was separated at the time.
So did you support the motion?
I supported the motion,
How'd you vote this time?
yes.
Then you should be good.
Oh, okay, I supported the motion.
Okay, thank you.
Too late.
Counselor Pattison, we voted on this matter. Okay, we voted on 9.7. I recognize the member because she thought she had voted incorrectly. Then the item is closed. We're moving on. If you haven't, if you mistake.
I think I voted incorrectly.
Okay,
I voted a yes, I think, and I'm supposed to vote no if I want to support the climate
okay.
motion.
You
So I
voted-
need to vote,
Okay.
I
you were-
need to vote no.
I-
Are people paying attention, aren't they?
Order. Okay, it is the prerogative of a member. I believe there's a certain time there, they can register if they made a mistake, so we're within that time.
Then we're going to do it again?
I heard the
Yeah, so folks,
Welcome to the email chain.
colleagues, I appreciate it, but let's focus and let's not crosstalk, please. Okay, so 9.7 is on the floor. Again, because one of our colleagues, and that's cool, right? So you're voting to affirm or change your vote as expressed on February the 13th, okay? If anybody needs a reminder of how they voted.
Buzzer went, and too late.
Thank you, that is defeated 6-9. Okay, thank you. Now, I'm in the hands of committee. There were some absences when it came to the closure of new traffic signal. If you'd like to have a separate vote on that. No, I'm seeing none. No pickup, okay. Okay, ça c'est tout. Right. Yep. Well, it was non-disqualifying. Okay, so on the balance of the minutes, please. Vote is up. Councillor Jackson, did you wish to speak before we vote on the balance of the minutes? Okay.
Thank you, Budget Chair Wilson. If you recall, 45 minutes ago, I had asked for that, and City Clerk Trenum said this was the best time to probably speak to it for 5.2 overall. So I'm full steam ahead, please.
My preference as your chair would be for let's wrap these minutes up, and if you would like to speak to the process, the content of anything that has been dated, that would be my preference. If you have something specific with respect to the minutes which are on the floor of February
13th.
the 13th, then now is your time. But if they're not specific to February the 13th, can we have a vote on receiving the balance of the minutes?
Okay, and then I could do an overall speech then, please?
I can't wait, yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I will just vote against these 5.2 then, because items that I wanted were defeated. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Okay, so let's vote on the balance, okay, for February the 13th. That's right. Okay, folks. Just a little bit of, if you vote against the receipt, the remainder of these minutes, you're voting against, you're canceling out how you exercise your vote on all the other minutes. So to use one example, as a colleague has asked, if you voted affirmative to enhance paramedic services, if you vote no on the receipt of the balance, you're canceling out whatever your franchise was before, okay? Okay. And if anyone, just let me know. Stop me at any time, okay? That carries 13-2. Okay. We're on to items for consideration. There has been a request by one of our colleagues that they like to make some comments. I guess now would be the time, but this is also the time for me to ask you if there are any additional amendments to the 2026 budget. So my preference would be for us to lead into the action that is before us and then go to comments. But that is my request as your chair. Okay? There are no further amendments that are being brought. Thank you. I'm being told here in my instructions, go to private and confidential section. For those minutes, Clerk Trenum, or? Okay, I don't think we have anything remaining to do, other than we dealt with the 7.1 minutes. Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, so we have concluded that part. I'm now going to open the floor if you have some concluding remarks that you'd like to make. Councillor Jackson.
Thank you, Budget Chair Maureen Wilson. And just to counter what you had said about the paramedics, of course I supported the paramedics, but there were other items in 5.2, like the climate change that was defeated, that caused me to overall not to be able to support 5.2. All right, just some concluding comments for me, Budget Chair Wilson, because this is, as you stated an hour ago, this is our last attempt at the 26 budget, and then it's in the hands of Mayor Horvath. So I just had a few comments I wanted to make, and a conundrum that I'm in. Inflation is at 2.3%, just recently released. The mayor's directive initially was 4.25%, today sitting at 3.87%. Previous years of 5.8, 5.8, 5.6 were unacceptable to me, and I voted against. Interesting how the condemnation of past councils has not entered the conversation of 2026, such as playing catch-up, needing to correct matters from the past deficits, not letting things slide. Now affordability reigns, which I'm delighted about, and we are, the city of Hamilton is a modest city in terms of income, and instead, the buzzwords of this year, which again, I was pleasantly surprised to hear, are to eliminate redundancies, less reliance on reserves, less overlap, reduction in staff, all playing towards affordability. So here we are with these areas. There are areas of our city of greater affluence, mostly in the suburban communities where councillors represent, and affordability may not be the singular driver of decisions. But in my very modest, desirable East Mountain community, affordability, Budget Chair Wilson, is most important, and back to basic municipal programs, services, and facilities is the expectation of my everyday taxpayers. Plus, they want their municipal government to be customer-friendly and available with timely responses, not a bigger, bloated bureaucracy with the 800-plus employees previously approved that can lead to being stuck in a state of inertia. If the last term of council during the worst healthcare crisis of our generation could average 2.5% a year and keep the city growing and moving forward, this term of council could have as well, in my humble opinion, done similar. So hence, I cannot support the 3.87%, which hypothetically, if the 3.87% is defeated today, my understanding in discussions with City Clerk Trenum puts us back to potentially the 4.25% where we started with the mayor's directive. However, both numbers are unacceptable for me because ultimately and ideally, if Brampton could come in around 1%, if Toronto could come in around 2%, ideally I wanted 2.3%. So hence, again, to make it unanimous this term for me, the messaging I've sent to my constituents is that I could not support this budget increase either. Thank you, Budget Chair Wilson, for allowing me to give my speech. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Clark.
Thank you, Chair Wilson. Before I start, I do want to say that you've done an admirable job in the chair. It's not easy to chair the budget process, but you were consistent and you were fair throughout the process, and I want to thank you for that. I find myself in the same position as Councillor Jackson. I don't approve of the 3.87%. I found the process to be very challenging from the get-go. I find that there seems to be a cognitive disconnect with the residents because I can only speak to the residents in my ward and what I've heard. I have not received one person calling me or emailing me saying the 3.87% or the 4.25 are acceptable to them. They are angry that taxes have gone up 20% over the last 3 years. And they're angry that the water rate has gone up 40%, actually 37%. And here's the frustration for me. So the last time around, I heard from many of my council colleagues saying, well, you didn't provide any changes to the budget, so what are you complaining about? So I moved a motion that was approved March 5th of 2025. that staff be directed to provide information to council through the General Issues Committee budget on how the city would operate with an inflation rate of 2.5% increase for 2026. That was approved 13-2. That motion disappeared into the ether. It frustrates me when it would have been maybe a month ago, Councillor Taddison and I conferred on a budget, trying to get the budget increase down to 3%. We were proposing a motion to cap the budget at 3%, and we were told by the clerk that the motion is out of order. I asked why, and they said, well, it's not, doesn't give a line-specific item. But the cap from the mayor's budget was 4.25%. So here's the conundrum. The mayor moves and presents a directive that must come in at 4.25% or under, but the council can't move a similar cap of 3% because that's considered out of order. For decades, and I mean decades, City Council issued caps to staff in terms of what the budget had to be. And then we worked the process to get to that cap. So I find it frustrating that we're being asked to do things in advance. I did it March 5th. This motion disappeared. There was no report back to my knowledge. I never saw anything come into my office. It just disappeared. So a majority vote of 13-2 means nothing anymore. And that frustrates me. So, and I get that the mayor 100%, and I am not in any way, shape, or form suggesting that the mayor did not comply with the act. The mayor did exactly what the act tells her to do. My residents are frustrated that their elected official, their elected member has been hamstrung by provincial legislation in such a manner that we couldn't even move a cap at 2.5%. And in fact, we asked for the report back, but we didn't get one. So I remain frustrated by it. I find this process to be extremely undemocratic, and I will continue to object to the province in the hopes that they will change this. I know this council voted unanimously to have it changed, but we have not heard from the province. Thank you.
Councillor Francis, please.
Thanks, Chair Wilson, and thank you for handling this process really well over the last little while here. I know that's not easy. You know, for the same reasons here, I very frustrated with this process and wanted to speak to it. So just want to say, you know, my residents, they're struggling. Hamiltonians are struggling. Seniors, people with disabilities, low-income residents, first-time home buyers, young families, newcomers to Canada, many just fighting to make ends meet. I hear this every day in my community. And this council has spent the entire term blaming councils of the past on a massive 21% combined tax increase this term, instead of taking ownership for costly, expensive decisions this term. And now the audacity to call this a hold the line budget, when all it really is a punt the can to the future budget. Our reserves have been depleted so much that the city's GM of Finance is warning us that the next 2 years will hit taxpayers with a 20% combined tax increase unless council reins in its spending and stops borrowing from reserves. So that means for the next few years, we're looking at more record high tax increases, and who's to blame then? We've barely managed to shave down the budget by 0.38% after a process that began back in October when the mayor held these public engagement sessions throughout the city and in my ward, and the results were published on a council agenda in November for everyone to see, and yet the mayor's budget does not reflect the realities heard by those residents that were surveyed, which aligns exactly with what I'm hearing too in my own community. And since the advice given by residents wasn't followed, then that whole process was just theater. And Councillor Spatafor and I, we brought forward reasonable motions, so not just this term, but over the last 4 years, and a few of my colleagues have done the same thing. And so, as simple as financial restructuring, and we're blocked. And this isn't one-offs. And, we're being denied time and time again over 4 years. And for 4 years, council has refused to rein in spending. And now we're here operating under a process that shuts down the ability to make structural changes, ruling motions out of order, limiting councillors from even asking staff to explore those efficiencies. This legislation requires the mayor to present a budget. It doesn't require councillors to be sidelined, which is what has happened here. And this isn't sustainable. This is more taxes than ever and no more services to show for it. And residents deserve better than this, and I know that I'll keep fighting for that. And I know some of my colleagues here that have been shut down from trying to do that over the past 4 years will keep doing that. Just want to get my frustrations on record, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Kassar.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just a question of clarity to the city manager, to what Councillor Clark was speaking about, his motion and the report back. I believe it was a report back for what would it take to have a 2.3% budget for 2026 increase. I recall that we did get a report back, so through you to the city manager, could you just clarify, am I misremembering that? Thanks.
Through you, Madam Chair, there was a report that came forward. It was September 11th, 2025, and the report was FCS 25040.
Okay.
We'd be happy to share that with council, though.
Okay, yeah, thank you, that's all.
Councillor Cooper.
Thank you, Chair. We started off at 4.25%, and the way it's structured right now is one person decides on our tax rate for our city, and under strong mayors, that's the mayor. We look around at our peer organizations. Brampton came in around 0 with Mayor Brown. Mayor DeLuca had a 0. Mayor Chow came in around 2.2. What I heard at the door was even rate of inflation was too much for people. People are in fixed incomes. It's hard times. We have an affordability crisis in our city, and we would never know that by what we see here. Everyone knows we're in an election year. Everyone knows that, as was previously referenced, we're going to need to buckle our seatbelts for what's going to happen in the next 4 years. We've had a 22.8% tax increase, and what has people got for it? Well, in 25, we were officially designated worst roads in Canada. 24, we had the most shootings we ever had in our city. 25, we also are starting to see innocent people shot in our city. With shell casings downtown, they shoot up we've never seen before. Homelessness has doubled since the fall of 24. People in our city feel that taxes are too high and they can't afford it, and they feel their lives got worse. What shocked me more than anything when I was knocking on doors is the number of people who said they want to move out of Hamilton. So, what do we do here? We've trimmed around the edges, and we've kicked the can down the road. Folks, this is election year. You've seen the performances over the last 4 years. You have real options this election. You either continue down this path, and you shouldn't be surprised by what you're going to get, because everything you got was what you were promised last election. So I'm surprised if anyone's surprised by where we sit right now. We need real change in our city, and we see where we are. And just when you look around Hamilton with the affordability crisis going on, we see jobs leaving our city. I mean, even with the development charges, we've picked up $600 million in development charges. We're basically running a development charge bank, and our builders have stopped building because they just can't afford these development charges anymore to keep things going. So now we got unemployment in our city because of this. I mean, we even have a rain tax we're going to revisit in the next term of council, and this has really been a tax on our farmers. Everyone tells me when they go to the grocery store, there's less and less they can take home in their bags. And that's going to be a real issue going forward as well. So, folks, I'm going to encourage you. 30% turnout is awful at the polls. You got to get out and have your voices heard.
Councillor Wang.
Thank you. As your council representative that sits at AMO, I have the privilege of listening to other colleagues around Ontario talk about the similar challenges that we have here in Hamilton. I also hear about affordability. I also hear about the challenges with infrastructure. I also hear about how other municipalities are struggling with homelessness and opioid crisis. I also hear that the cost of doing business here in Ontario
is higher because of provincial downloading. Much of the comments that my colleagues have made about how hard it is these days from the province with some of that downloading is onto the backs of Hamilton property owners, yes. But one area where I'd like to just raise is that each municipality is different in the way we collect property taxes. Here in Hamilton, we are a single-tier municipality, which means that we don't have a region to go up to, where we see Brampton. Brampton is in part of the region of Peel, I think. And as much as Brampton is able to come in at a 0% city tax, they added a 1% hospital levy, but to a Brampton taxpayer, everyday taxpayer, they're actually paying 4.36% altogether. For the region of Vaughan, yes, they also did a 0% city tax, but the region of York is at a 4.39% increase. So they all we just have very different models in which we are allocating or how we have to pay the costs of this municipality. We do have police budget, we have paramedics, we have all of the emergency services. It's just different. And so it's not an apples to apples comparison. And so when we think about everyday taxpayers, every one of us shoulders the responsibility of balancing affordability with the needs of city building and the needs of future building. So I caution that when we make the comparisons to other municipalities, that we understand that each municipality has a different structure when it comes to how they tax their taxpayers. And I am thankful to Budget Chair Wilson for her steady leadership on this. I am thankful to this council for the collaboration on how we got to 3.8, and my hope is that Mayor will accept these amendments. Thank you.
Councillor McMeekin.
Thanks, Budget Chair. Where to start? First of all, compliments to you for your leadership and your wise counsel. This has been an interesting journey, sailing our ship into uncharted waters, looking for a lighthouse to point direction. And it's challenging. Affordability makes a lot of sense. So does an understanding of being a growth community with all the challenges that come with that. I happen to be privileged to represent a ward which for many years saw itself as the flyover zone. Missing a lot of services, no rec center, lack of police and emergency services. Even neighborhood parks were delayed because builders stopped building at 65% instead of the obligatory 70% to fulfill their obligations. What I hear out in my ward is pretty simple. Everyone understands they need to pay taxes. The rub becomes when they feel they're not getting value for the tax dollar. And I could chronicle areas where that would be perceived as a pronounced problem. We don't need to chronicle those. We have made some difficult decisions, and sometimes we've made mistakes. I don't mind admitting that as we look at it. The reality, I think, is that none of us none of us wants to add a burden to, or a deeper darkness to what's perceived by some as a night already devoid of stars, to quote Martin Luther King. But we're growing fast, and in my community, which has got a police fire compound being built, neighborhood parks that are coming for the first time in decades. We don't have a recreation center, the kinds of challenges that are there and the values associated with meeting those challenges leads me to believe that and support the proposed budget. I want to just indicate, though, as fulsomely as I can, that we need to be very vigilant around trying to ensure value for the tax dollars that we go to our representative communities that we're privileged to represent and ask for. People know that we're growing. We're one of the fastest growing communities. There are challenges in the development industry, which we've responded to by reducing for, I think, 2-year period, 20% of development charges. Most of the people around the table supported that. These things are necessary things to do. So I intend to support this, and I do so confidently, and with the caution that I intend, and I hope everyone around this horseshoe will continue to struggle to make sure that we get value for the tax dollars that we're asking our citizens to come up with. The other thing I want to flag, and it's been flagged, I mean, it's like a dead horse, I suppose. We have one of the worst assessment ratios in the province. 11% industrial commercial to 89% residential. And that in and of itself is fundamentally the structural functional issue in terms of why some of our residential taxpayers are paying 25 to 30% more because of that quite dysfunctional ratio. That's a reality that we need to struggle with, and I hope we can get a grasp on that and change that, because that would have the kind of positive impact some around this table want to see in terms of the tax hit. Thanks.
Councillor Alex Wilson.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. I don't have an election speech prepared, but I do have some frustrations that I'd like to share with this process, as well as many others have. I'm frustrated that at the end of this budget, many of the conversations that I think are the most important to the future of our city haven't come up and haven't been front and center. A multi-$100 million recreation backlog doesn't happen overnight, and it's going to have generational impacts for our city. This budget, while holding the line and many other things, does not begin to present that roadmap in terms of how do we start closing that, how do we provide for the future generation that's alive today, like right here, right now, to make sure that their rec centers are there. We were talking this morning, going, what does it look like in the lower city trying to find a pool in the year 2030? Between Ward 13 to Ward 4, there may be 2 open. Wow. That's huge. And having those realities, knowing that they're coming and not planning for them now, saying, no, that's later's problem, or we can't make that happen because the system is broken. That's a frustration I wish we had talked a lot more about throughout this process. I also understand and appreciate that our funding formula is fundamentally broken as a municipality. And Councillor Wang and other councillors have talked about how Hamilton is uniquely impacted by all municipal funding formulas being broken, how whether it's our assessment levy, whether it's our regional structure, Hamilton gets a short straw. But this system can't continue. And I think every single city is finding that. The number of municipalities coming forward with water bills where residents are no longer able to pay their water bills, it's getting more and more every year nationwide. And as we're having conversations about rebuilding this country, partnering with our federal government, what does it mean to be sovereign? As you, Chair, opened up this kind of nationalist conversation, Wow, in a country with a quarter of the world's fresh water, we're not doing sovereignty through source protection, that's for sure. We're not doing sovereignty through stewardship. We're not making sure that the people, the places, the things that are here that make this place so wonderful are protected for future years to come. So often it feels like we're saying, well, what can we, make do? How can we manage the decline now? And I think one of my frustrations in this process, as so many have shared theirs, isn't one about how I felt I was able to participate or shape this budget, but was that we, this municipality itself, the citizens here, fundamentally lack the jurisdiction to make the decisions necessary that are impacting our future. And I think that's a frustration I want to share and I want to contend with in this process, that some of these challenges are bigger than the legislative authority that we've been given. And I think part of, if we're going to have a kind of airing of frustrations at the end, that's a frustration I think is really worth airing. Is that as much as I do think we can make better decisions around this table, we can make different decisions around this table, some of these decisions ultimately need to be made in terms of how we want to fund municipalities and how we want to fund local government, city, nationwide. In my opinion, and I think in the opinion of most people in this room, it's not working and it won't work unless there's dramatic change, and local communities cannot shoulder this level of investment. That said, I don't believe the solution is to continue to say, well, because it's an impossible task, how do we cut, how do we cut, how do we race to the bottom? I do think it's important that we do what we can to protect people, to protect the future, and articulate where our ability to do that stops and where we think the public needs to reach out to other layers of government as well. Thank you, Chair.
First time speakers first. In terms of concluding remarks, Councillor Pauls.
Thank you, and mine's very, very short. First of all, I just want to say we have a new legislative term this year. Last term what seemed more clearer to me, and I was able to vote for budgets or not when the staff came to us and we voted individual. Even voting today, I found it very frustrating, separating and all that. But anyways, beside that, I just want to say that I will be voting for the 3.87, and the reason is not because I think I want that. I want less. I want 0%. But the problem is this. If I vote no to this, we'll have a 4.25% tax because that was set by the mayor. So I will vote yes, 3.87. I don't like it. I don't think any of us like increase of any kind. So I just want the public to know that if I do vote no to 3.7, it will be a 4.25 budget. Thank you.
Councillor Nan, please.
Thank you. Through you, I want to say thank you to Councillor Huang for stating the facts about the structural differences between municipalities across Ontario. I think it's really important to make sure that our residents across the city and anybody listening beyond that are clear about this council being clear that we're a single-tier municipality. And the fact remains municipalities across Ontario are experiencing a tax burden challenge in a way that none of our counterparts across the country are. So similar to Councillor Huang, sitting at FCM, I get to hear from my colleagues about their annual tax increases. And I'm almost in envy and awe of how much collaboration exists between their provincial governments and their municipalities. They are not dealing with being creatures of a province that has downloaded the cost of housing to their municipalities. They are not dealing with having to be the creatures of the province of Ontario, where gaps, massive cracks in systems when it relates to health are being underfunded. That's our reality here in Hamilton, like every other city in the province. Municipalities are forced to show leadership, to bring public service excellence to the table, and unfortunately assume things that should squarely fall to a province to pay for. While we face epidemics of toxic drugs, epidemics of gender-based violence, and crises related to an increased level of homelessness to a degree and a number we've never seen in this province before. These pressures are on top of decades of underinvestment in capital infrastructure that has left our cities and our communities in decay. It's true. Yeah, people are frustrated seeing roads. People are frustrated having their recreation center closed when they've taken the time to organize their family to show up for a swimming lesson. And that is truly the result of decades of underfunding when it comes to capital infrastructure in the city of Hamilton. That's just facts. So at some point, that needs to come home to roost, and decisions need to be made around a table to invest. And that investment is not being done willy-nilly. It's not being done because there's some of us, quote unquote, being defined as tax and spend counselors. It's being done based on evidence, facts, and sound measurement through asset management, as well as a needs-based analysis. Where are we? Audit after audit after audit report tells us where we need to be as a municipality, and we have an obligation as members of council to meet those audit recommendations with the investment that they require. That's what we're facing, dear residents of the city of Hamilton. So important that our speaking notes are accurate. It's also really important that effort is put in around this table to help balance the needs and investments required. So with that, I want to say thank you to my colleagues around the table who've brought forward amendments, who've helped make possible a reduction of a tax rate, hopefully accepted by our mayor, from 4.25 down to 3.87. I think that's prudent work, that's careful work, that's measured work, and I think our residents will appreciate it. Thank you.
Councillor Critch.
Yeah, thanks to Councillors Alex Wilson and Narinder Nan. I have a lot less to say. I agree with a lot of what they said. I think it's also important, because I do hear this from residents from time to time when we're compared to the City of Toronto, that we say again here, unfortunately, for the millionth time, the City of Toronto Act allows the City of Toronto to raise taxes differently than every other city in Ontario. They are not a comparator for taxes, period. They're able to raise massive amounts of money to offset their taxes every year, which is why the tax rate is lower. Just the facts. I think it's also important when we think about inflation. We talk about that a lot here. It's not a comparative analysis that's helpful for looking at municipal taxes. Most of the things that are involved in CPI or inflation do not relate to municipal budgets in any way. We don't adjust food costs here for residents. It's a huge portion of how CPI is calculated. So when we're comparing these things, I think it's important to say, if we're going to compare them, we compare them apples to apples in that way. And I'm hopeful, I'm going to be bringing a motion forward at some point about a municipal price index so we can get a sense of what are the expenses a municipality actually has. Because we're not talking about some abstract group here or some abstract corporation. We're talking about this one, one that puts into roads, bridges, recreation centers. Those are the kinds of things that we're doing here. Those things are not valued or calculated as part of CPI. The kinds of material costs that we have that go up. And I'll be honest with you, I've watched anyways, and I've read back in time a little bit to see the city decide to make decision after decision this council made to gut staff teams that I think, if we're here, would save us money. We decided as a municipality to get rid of the public works road crew. Residents are frustrated about nothing more than the fact that we can't, as a municipality, go out quickly and address road, sidewalk safety issues, pedestrian safety issues. The reason is because this council years ago decided to gut the road crew in favor of driving down to a lowest budget as possible. When people say I want a 0% budget, I say to them, okay, where do you expect the increased costs to come from? The air? They have to be paid somehow. They go up every year. Are you suggesting that our employees don't deserve a cost of living increase in their wages? Are you suggesting we just stop negotiating union contracts and pretend that our employees don't exist? 0% means that reality of deferring those costs to some other time in the future. We have to be mindful of that and think about the fact that there are going to be costs that go up every year here, and someone's going to have to pay for those costs. And it turns out that it's because of the way the provincial government set things up, residents of the city of Hamilton. And Councillor Nan's point can't be overstated enough. When we bicker about this here and point fingers at one another here, we're wasting time that we should be spending advocating to the province, asking them to get their act together like other provinces have around the country. Ontario doesn't have to be this way. It is. And I'll say this as someone who's not a representative of AMO. I know AMO is doing some advocacy. I think a lot more needs to be done. I think every one of us should be as mad at the province as they are about every other thing that we're raising here today. They're the ones putting us in this situation. And Councillor Danko, I don't agree on much, but one thing he put forward that I really appreciated was a pie chart a couple of years ago that demonstrated how much of this money from the tax increase is coming directly from provincial downloading. And I know that Jim Zagaric has included some of this information in previous budgets. I'm not sure if it's in this one, but I think it's worth reminding. I think it was a third of the entire cost increase or more came just from provincial downloading in that year. So when we're having conversations with residents, I think that's the conversation we should be having with them, asking them to reach out to their sitting government MPPs and ask them why they are raising taxes for residents. Not why the city of Hamilton is, why the provincial government is doing it over and over and over again. Want to be mad at someone, be mad at the Premier.
Before recognizing second-time speakers, any further additional first-time speakers? Mayor Horvath, I think you're a first time.
I am first time. I was going to wait until I take the chair again, if that's, I'll do that. Thank you.
Mr. Clark, as a second time.
Thank you, Chair. I want to take the opportunity to withdraw an earlier comment. I believe I stated in my comments that we didn't get a report back on the motion that council had approved, 13 to 0, I believe it was, and that was the motion for a 2.5% increase. I want to thank Councillor Kassar for pointing out that it was received in September. I couldn't find it last night. I looked everywhere. My apologies to staff for implying that the report did not happen. The rest of my comments I still stand by, though. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Kassar.
Thank you. There are no further speakers, so Mayor Horvath.
Is it time for me to take the chair again now? Or?
If in 1 second, and then I'll hand over the chair.
Okay.
Sorry, my apologies. So to my colleagues and to the public who are watching, now that we have completed our work in terms of the budget amendment process, it's important to acknowledge what the next steps are with respect to when the budget will be adopted. The municipal budget process does not conclude with a vote to approve the budget as council has done in the past. Instead, council considers amendments and votes on each amendment to the proposed budget as we have done. As this council has carried amendments to the proposed budget, the adoption of the budget will depend on the next steps. Firstly, starting tomorrow, the mayor will have up to 10 days to consider whether or not to veto any of the approved budget amendments. The mayor also has the ability to shorten that 10-day period. If the mayor does not veto any amendments, the budget will be adopted automatically on March the 2nd or earlier if the mayor decides to shorten her veto period. If the mayor uses a veto on any amendment, then council will have up to 15 days to hold an override vote to overturn the veto. To do so, a majority of members of council, so 9 members or more, may call a special council meeting by sending a notice to the clerk in writing with the date and time of the meeting to be called. And if that happens, I would recommend strongly that members of council who are predisposed that way work with the clerk to determine that appropriate date and time, as other meetings in your calendars may be impacted. If done within the 15-day time period, council can hold a vote to override any vetoes, noting that a vote to override a veto requires 2/3 majority to pass. If an override veto meeting is held, then the budget would be adopted at the end of that 15-day period. All that remains on today's agenda is the confirming bylaw, which finalizes the amendments to the proposed budget, which sit now at 3.87. Thank you very much for your time and attention. Thank you for your due diligence and your work and the collegiality that you brought to this exercise. Thank you.
So I want to just, before we get on with the rest of the business before us, want to just say thank you. Thank you to, of course, our budget chair, Councillor Maureen Wilson, and our budget vice chair, Councillor Craig Kassar. As our colleagues have identified, you did a stellar job. Just a reminder that that meant early morning meetings and late night meetings and a lot of work. And so we are very much appreciative of your efforts, your commitment, your professionalism, and your ability to guide us through what are often very fraught conversations, because budgets are never easy, and especially in times like these, which are very uncertain times, they're never easy. We're in a place of shifting sands, I think is fair to say, and have been at least for the last year and probably a little bit longer than that. In fact, the previous council had to deal with COVID, and we came in on the tail end of that, and the ramifications continue to affect our municipality, the people in our municipality, and, well, frankly, the world at large, I would say. Having said that, though, the gratitude extends also to our staff in terms of the effort and work that was put on, or put forward by them. The same kind of diligence and determination to come up with a target was very much appreciated. And then the work that was done to answer the many questions that came from residents, from councillors, to give us information to help us get through these last couple of meetings. And I think where we've ended up is a place where, notwithstanding the frustration of the process that we are required to undertake, we took the time to have some of the conversations, maybe not all of them, but some of the conversations. And I think the people of Hamilton are better for that. I think that we know that it's not easy sailing right now. I think that we know that we're facing a lot of challenges as a municipality, but I want to say we're also facing a lot of opportunities. Just yesterday, there was a signing of an MOU and a letter of intent with Ontario Shipyards. Ontario Shipyards is being funded in a pilot project by the Ontario government to come up with a prototype. They're also partnering with a Korean firm in terms of technology and ability to utilize technology in the development of new products. New products for what? New products to try to be competitive in the ability to build our own naval fleet or pieces of that fleet in Canada, in Ontario, and in fact in Hamilton and the Niagara region. And so while we do face challenges, we also face opportunity. And I think it's really important not to lose sight of that as well. Budgets are often hand-wringing, and they're often tense, and they can lead to, to strong opinions and language, but that's not unexpected. And I hear our colleagues say around the table, and rightfully so, around the horseshoe, my residents, the people that I represent, we all come here, and I've said this to many of you individually, those of you who have made the effort to come and chat with me from time to time as I open those invitations over the years. We are all here by the same method. We're all here by the same method. The people sent us here to do these jobs, to do this work, to govern this municipality. That's not going to change. And so it's not unusual to have differing opinions, differing political views and perspectives. I think where we end up, though, is, and I hope where we end up, and where I feel that we've ended up here today, is an acknowledgement and a recognition that notwithstanding the differences, we have one major thing in common, and that is a responsibility to the people of Hamilton to do our best and to serve their best interests. Not our best interests, but their best interests. And I want to thank you all for doing that. I want to thank you all for taking that seriously and bringing that perspective to these often difficult discussions over the last number of weeks and months. The appreciation extends to the most recent comments of our budget chair in terms of the go forward. That process will unfold. That review period that's built into the process is required. But for today, I want to say that I feel the work that we all did, including staff, including residents who participated, including people that participated through delegations and through letters and through public meetings and through town halls and through our online tools. I think that all of us together are responsible for what we have in front of us. And I really do have gratitude for the engagement and the participation. Could it be more robust? Absolutely. Will we continue to try to make it more robust? No doubt about it. But I really do appreciate the effort, the commitment, the participation, the engagement, and know that, that we did our utmost to come to a budget that will meet the needs of our city and its residents in a way that's responsible, that takes care of the things that need to be taken care of because we're an old city, but also the things that we need to take care of because we're a growing city. And this is a balance that we must always keep in mind. That's an exciting place to be as a city. We wouldn't want to be a city that's shrinking or that's not growing. So we're quite lucky in that regard, and I think keeping that in mind is what we've done in the work that we've achieved over these last number of weeks and months. So you'll know that I've already started a directive for the next budget. You can certainly look at that, and I appreciate the comments once again this year that will help us improve next time around. And so for that, I'm going to conclude my comments by simply saying once again, thank you very much. It's not easy, but it's been work well done and much appreciated. And on behalf of the people of the city of Hamilton, I want to say thank you to everyone who's participated. On that note, we'll go back to our agenda. And now we're going to move on to the bylaws. And I'm going to ask the budget chair and vice chair to move and second the bylaws. So Councillor Kassar, may I have a motion on the bills? Please go ahead. On the bill? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mayor, it's moved by me, seconded by Budget Chair, Councillor Maureen Wilson, that 8.1, which is bylaw 041, to confirm the proceedings of council, be confirmed.
Thank you. So the bills in front of us, we will have an electronic vote unless there's any discussion. Is there any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, we'll go to the vote, please. And that carries 15-0. Thanks very much, all. We are now adjourned. Thank you for your hard work.